Hey, folks. How are you all doing? Uh, yeah, I just figured I'd go live to have an excuse to sit outside, maybe. Not really. It is an absolutely beautiful evening. Cheers. And I figured I'd go live. I haven't done a live in a long time. Sorry for that. I'm doing it on the computer here, or on the laptop. So it's a little shaky. I know. Sorry. Um, gonna talk about a variety of things tonight. Just to start off with, I'm going to talk about the new Skelectric Fast and Furious cars. I was sent a pair of these cars, and we're going to talk about marketing. Also, we're going to talk about kind of questionable details lacking on these cars, actually, now that I look at them. So, the only way that guess I need to angle my computer screen down a little more. The only way that these cars make any sense is if we get some marketing around this. Hey, Slot Car Hub, cheers. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it. Good morning to you, too, sir. Um, this license is obviously a good one um, because it is very car related and it is, you know, I hesitate to say a car guy movie because, to be frank, uh, it's not really. I guess it's a broad appeal movie that I don't know that it has much appeal in the slot car market. This has been tried a couple times now. Carrera has tried with the Fast and Furious years ago. It was a miserable failure. It was really before someone was doing marketing for them. It was right before, or not right before. It was a couple of years before I worked for them, and didn't really go very well. Um, Now Skelectric has done this license, but kind of the problem is they don't have anybody left really in the U.S. that I'm sure is doing marketing. They had a sales manager who's recently left, and I don't think he's being replaced. You really need to have someone who is. Is the wing also off on this? It is also not correctly installed. Um, you have to have people doing marketing. You have to have people really pushing these out to the non-slot car market because these designs and everybody, well, maybe not everybody, a lot of folks in the slot car market know that these are dated designs. These are movie cars, not in any way, current whatever. This car possibly had some staying power because it's been shown so often on on all social media as Paul Walker's last car or whatever. Um, so I'm really dubious. Cheers. Sorry, I appreciate you showing up from Japan. Sorry, this does not auto translate. I wish it did. I do appreciate you showing up though. Cheers. Mushy mushy. Thank you. Arigato. Um, so I'm not really sure, how the Fast and the Furious stuff is going to be greeted by the slot car market. Um, because it's really not aimed at the slot car market. It's aimed at the broader market. And I don't think, without somebody here, I really don't think that they're going to get that much traction out of this. Now, when I had talked to the sales manager about this months ago, um, hey, Slot Car Dojo, cheers. When I had talked to him months ago about the Fast and the Furious license, there were plans for some kind of events. There were plans for uh, massive samples sent to not only me, other slot car folks. Um, So I really hope that they do some of this. I don't care about getting samples sent to me. I honestly don't. I honestly do hope they're doing some kind of marketing. We're talking about this to start with, guys. Um, I really do hope they're planning on doing some marketing, some outreach to the larger movie going market. Uh, I still hold to the fact, and this is a something I had talked with Skelextric about, and I don't know that I mentioned it to Carrera or not, but here's a freebie, guys. Is the movie, the live action movie of Initial D, I believe is coming out next year. That is the next, hey, West Coast, that is the next car movie that I think will hit big. I I think the interest certainly in Fast and Furious is leveled. Uh, I mean, Vin Diesel is a pretty old guy now, and I don't really feel like there's just enough meat on the bone left for this license. I know it couldn't have been cheap. I don't know that. I don't know. I believe this couldn't have been cheap to get this license. It certainly wasn't cheap to make these molds that are specific. These two, for sure, are specific to the movie. This is not a standard RX-7, sadly. This is, I believe this is a standard Supra, but it's not, well, it is only painted on the hood with the intake, so that's good. Um, Initial D will be badass, I agree. Uh, the guy from Fast and the Furious, the Asian guy, Sun Kong, I believe is going to be directing that, or he's a producer or something. So I would expect that that movie will have a pretty huge worldwide following. I've gotten a bit into the anime. I've watched the original anime series. Um, yeah, Paul Walker. Well, there is a driver in the car. Yeah, of course. Like every Skelextric car, it has a driver. Um, yeah, it does have a driver. So, I definitely think, and I've told Skellectric this a couple times. I told them, I think there was rumors of this movie coming out when I worked there still, a few years ago. No, that couldn't have been. No, that was like 2 years ago when this oh yeah, exactly. And now I know why. Okay, anyway, yeah, so I know that they know that this movie's coming out, of course. They go to all the licensing shows where they get shown uh, pre. Uh, they're not really trailers; they're a bit more than trailers. So they get to see a lot of clips from the upcoming movie. They get to learn a little bit about it, a little bit more than the public gets to know, certainly originally. So I really think Initial D is the next one. If someone doesn't hop on this, they're idiots. Uh, the problem, Carrera is a natural one to do this. The problem is, as you all know, or some of you know, they've already done the molds for these cars. They already have the AE86, the Corolla, two-door Corolla. They already have the RX-7, the white Red Suns RX-7. They already have the other RX-7, the yellow one, which is also available red now, I believe. So there's a lot available to them already. The problem is these molds were made for an exclusive Chinese release, I believe, or I don't think it was a Japanese release. I think it was commissioned by the distributor in China. I'm still a little unclear about this, but they do have the molds. The problem is I don't think they can use them for a worldwide release, which is a little peculiar. and let's face it, a little bit inefficient. Uh, so that's the next big movie to hit that that I'm hearing. Hey, Robert, that I'm here that that we all know is coming. If you follow any car boards on Facebook, any groups on Facebook that are car related, you'll see different whisperings about movies and things that are coming up. I'm on a bunch of them for Asian cars or Japanese cars, Asian cars, for Japanese cars in general. Hey, Oscar, yeah. I figured it's beautiful here. It is in the low 70s, but there's absolutely no humidity for once. Pennsylvania is awful for humidity, and it is just the perfect night to sit here. Hey, McCrae, thanks. I appreciate it. Hey, Secret Weber. Yeah, it's an absolutely stunning evening, and I figured I'd go live just because I don't really have much to talk about. Well, I do have plenty to talk about, of course. I'm never usually short of hearing myself speak, let's be honest. Um, but yeah, it's such a beautiful night. And my wife and my son just went out to go see a movie, and I just felt like sitting out here having a adult drink of some sort that you mix with vermouth and olives. In any case, I really do think that Skelectric is going to have a little bit of trouble. Hey, Cuthbert, cheers. Skelectric is going to have a little bit of trouble if these get these. I can't really hold it. There we go. If these are aimed at us, at Slot Car Guys, I really don't believe that you're going to get huge sales from either of these two older guys who are maybe not necessarily into this kind of movie. It's just the case. I really, the health of the company is not technically my concern anymore, but I am concerned. Yeah, I agree, Weber. I mean, the Initial D movie is it has a years and years of history. There are so many different versions of the manga that they can pull storylines from. Uh, it's certainly well. I mean, it's got such a rich history. There's it's such a big built-in audience in Japan. I mean, it's huge, or well, huge for some people. It really feels like there's a lot more room there than there is for Initial D, or sorry for uh, this guy, Fast and the Furious. Um, yeah, I don't know. I I'm concerned about all the money that they would have spent, not just on the molds, but the licensing as well, is probably pretty high. Uh, I mean, whatever. It's not my money. Why should I worry about it? I guess. But yeah. Oh, I do want to thank, and I don't think he's here, or he would have said something. Tom Work from the Slot Car Misfits board, who sent me this. This is great. This is a nice sticker that I don't know where I'm going to put. I'll put on a piece of track next to my layout. Um, yeah, it is a little concerning that they've put all that time and effort into it, and now I would love to hear, and maybe someone will have watched this or watched my latest news that I just put on about an hour or two ago, or 3 hours ago, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, where I talked about the movie. You know, who knows? Maybe they won't. Maybe they will. So what everybody's thinking? What are everybody's thoughts on the recent cars that have come? I am actually kind of curious to hear what people are thinking about the Revo slots we've gotten recently, the NSRs we've gotten recently. I mean, Skelectrics, there's been a bunch of Skelectric news recently. Not just these cars. There was a whole bunch of cars that showed up recently. Another notchback Mustang. We're getting an awful lot of cars for it being summer. Still not much from Carrera of America, which is to be expected because of tariff issues. So, Revo NSR releases are 10 out of 10. Okay, well, I'm glad you think so. I mean, the NSR stuff, I don't know about the, what do they call it? Uh, Reparto Corsa releases. Oh, the recent Scale Auto cars. Yeah, there have been a lot of really nice Scale Auto cars recently. Boy, it's been so much, and frankly, the summer months are not when we get a lot of cars. Um, there's definitely some interesting cars that Slotted are going to be releasing fairly soon. This weekend is the Slotted National actually going on right now. The Slotted Nationals in out on the West Coast there, and yeah, I'm wondering once we see pictures of that new GR, whatever it is, Toyota, that look really, really nice from the small photos I've seen. That looks amazing. I believe, yeah, I can't. The RX-7 by Revo Slot, that looks really, really nice. I do think that car will hit pretty well. I think there's definitely a market for that car, and it looks like. I mean, I'm no huge. I don't claim to be, like that knowledgeable about the RX-7, but man, I got a gnat flying around here. The mold certainly looks pretty nice. So, who knows? I don't know whether uh, the big Mazda fans are going to be super happy to see that car. I would assume they would be. Um, and yeah, the other slotted, there's another Toyota coming out soon that was kind of previewed a little bit during the Nationals here, which is kind of interesting. It's a Group C car. We've got an awful lot of Group C cars. I'm definitely looking forward to them fleshing out the kind of mini Trans Am cars, if you want to call them that, the 510, and then whatever they're going to make to race with the 510. There is something that they will be making to race with the 510. So that will be really great. I'm talking about Slotted now. Um, yeah, I definitely think that's going to be whatever it is. I'm sure it's going to be a really interesting car. Uh, yeah, Revo should be a good IROC car. Yeah, and then we have the Revos that or the IROCs that Scale Auto is going to be doing too. We don't know, the pictures that I showed. I believe those are just artists' kind of renditions of the bodies that we're going to be getting. So, I mean, once we get a real look at the body shells, I think it'll be interesting to see what that stuff looks like. Um, it's it's a natural for club racing. Let's just say that. I have not been doing much aside from my news. I have not been doing much slot car related this summer. I've been working an awful lot at the baseball field. Doing the team stuff. That's kind of where I hurt my chest the day before yesterday. Uh, that's why I was at the doctor yesterday. Um, I appreciate the wishes that I got on from my short that I did. There's not there's nothing that they can really do for me. I have pain. I'll tilt this down. I have pain right here, which was from the surgery to remove a gland in my chest here, and they had to go in between my ribs. And when they did that, they not only damaged nerves, but they damaged the muscles around the ribs. They think, and my camera bag is super heavy, and it kind of came off my shoulder weird, and it hurts like hell. Um, Slockhart Dojo asks, do you think prices would drop if tariffs come down, or is it just keep them at the same price point? So, generally speaking, and I'm not making a value judgment here, but this is simple economics and capitalism. Once prices have gone up, they rarely go down. There might be some lowering here and there of prices, but you know, not not really. No, um, the prices are the tariffs are still up. By the way, there are frameworks of agreements, but nothing actually finished. I believe there's some talk about a 10% tariff on everything from Europe, which is 10% higher than it was before all of this started, which means that not the countries, will pay for everything imported from the EU into the U.S. Everything made in the EU, you will pay more. It's just how these tariffs work. I've been saying this for a couple of years now. Folks got all over me because they don't understand how tariffs work, I guess. But you know, U.S. consumers pay the price for higher tariffs. It's just how tariffs work, guys. Please understand, I'm not making a political statement. I'm making a statement of fact. Once prices rise, I I don't really see them going down much. I do hope they will go down because boy, some of these cars are just way too expensive, in my humble opinion. I'm not going to talk about brands, but it's just unfortunate how I think we've lost what had been a slightly more affordable hobby, that it is now just not affordable in many ways. Um, I think there is definitely a market for Polycar to make home racer cars at a $30 price. I really think that I believe they could do it if they're selling the stuff direct. I really hope that there is a way to, make something affordable. I do know that, Carrera's prices are still crazy low for, their products here. I don't know how they've kept the prices this low for this long, quite frankly. That was something that we had talked about when I worked there. And, we really didn't raise car prices when I worked there pretty much at all. Um, so, they've marginally raised the price of an analog car, but you can still get one for, 40 or maybe $45. So, I don't know, guys. It's certainly, it ain't good when we have higher prices on what should be a fairly affordable family hobby. Um, yeah, I agree, Jay Eisenhard. It's what are you going to do? I mean, this is one of the good things about the 3D printed side of things. Folks like Think Electric and our Magnetic Racing and Racetrack Scenics, they can make, you know, uh, I would think lower priced products for certainly their own home markets, and that really helps. It really does help. So I am hopeful that we do have some things that make that allow the hobby to be, you know, some kind of entry point. Someone here, uh, McCrae, prices in Canada. Someone mentioned the prices in Canada, or did they? Oh yeah, West Coast. The prices are insane. So you got to understand that most of the cars, I would think, unless you're getting like cars shipped from Scalextric, I believe they do fulfill from England, but most of the other brands have U.S. distribution that then ships into Canada. So Canada, the Canadian market, is not necessarily free from all of this nonsense because it's the products unfortunately go through the U.S. and are part of this tariff nonsense, which is frankly benefiting nobody but rich people. So that's that. Um, $200 now, yeah, for a 132 car out of Canada. Yeah, um, yeah. I mean that's rough, West Coast. It's you got to question whether that's really worth it or not. If you're really into it, yeah. Digital 124 is you know it's I assume that's what you're talking about, by the way. If it's not, I'm sorry. um it's 124 market is definitely small, and you have limited options for sure, regardless of what brand it is. I mean, certainly BRM cars have never been cheap, let's say. They've always been good quality, and as far as I'm concerned, worth the money. But it is hard, when you're talking about um, when you're talking about a $200 car. That's pretty dear. So yeah. What did McCrae said? Ordered the newest F1 release from Carrera, waiting for the arrival. The price was steep. Yeah, McCrae. I mean, it's I do hope the price goes down a little bit if we get some kind of resolution to these issues. But frankly, I don't see these kinds of issues being resolved in the way people expect they will be, because you know a lot of what's being talked about are, I got a bee flying around me. That's annoying. A lot of these the new tariffs are much higher than what we had before. So you know the talking point of, well, it's to bring back COVID changed everything. Yeah, well, yeah, I mean COVID, but I mean it's business too. Um, anyway, it's a whole bunch of there's a lot of issues that I don't necessarily want to get into because it is political and not like a quantifiable economics thing. I really don't want to talk politics here because I mean I only talk politics with my family, and my family I mean by like my blood family and my wife. I don't really want to discuss that kind of thing here because people don't really want to look at facts, and or they get a little too hypersensitive and start trashing whoever they don't agree with. Let's be fair. So that's why I'm not doing that kind of thing here, but I will talk about the prices, which I mean you can't really, what are you going to say about the prices? They have gone up. It is because of tariffs. And already I see I've lost a couple people watching, probably because they don't want to hear me talking about this. I did lose quite a few people when I first started talking about tariffs because people don't want to hear it, but it's the case, guys. I'm sorry. Um, in any case, it's definitely things are not changing anytime soon with any of this. sadly, prices, there was like a window before the prices went up again. And that's why you saw a bunch of companies bring stuff in like a couple weeks ago. I know LEB, for example, got a huge shipment of cars because they were on the water when it depends on when the shipment gets technically on the water, meaning in a container on a ship, what tariffs affect them. Okay. So just because something, there's some, let's say there's some new tariff tomorrow that doesn't affect something that left, 2 or 3 weeks ago from Hong Kong, which is where almost everything is shipped from. So, it's like the prices, you don't really get a good sense of that. You don't really get a good sense of, when things are going to arrive because they could be delayed, but it's when the items leave the port is when the tariffs are in effect for them, and other variables like um, other variables that lead to shortages and price increases. Dealers oftentimes don't know what the tariffs are going to be. What the worst part of this, actually, I had a conversation with a big dealer recently about something that isn't talked about, and it's not it isn't a political thing. Again, this is an economics thing. It was the price of the dollar. The price of the dollar is really weak against the euro. So when you order something from a European company, which all of these companies are European, except the ones that, well, no, not even the ones that have a U.S. office, because the U.S. office is still getting things from China. So the if the dollar has lost 10% of its value against the euro, and then a dealer orders something or wants to order something, and then doesn't really order it until a couple days later, they have to check the price of the dollar again, and the price of the dollar is 10% lower, so everything costs 10% more just right off the top from where things had been. So, and that's setting aside any tariff. So, this is why prices have gone up. And, some people probably are really tired of me talking about this, but I feel like I should, because you have to know why the prices have gone up so much. It's not because these companies are trying to take a lot of profit. They're really not. I mean, I've talked to a bunch of different companies, and you know, folks are hurting because the margins are not great on slot cars. It's a race to the bottom with a lot of dealers and what a lot of dealers charge, and a lot of dealers won't really, unfortunately, now sell a car at its full retail price, a suggested price, until they can put it on a special, and they can put it on a discount, and can sell it for a discount. And then when they do that, instead of making their normal margin, which might only be 30%, which is frankly not that much, it works out to be a couple dollars a car, not really all that much. Um, they might only be making 10% on a car. So, $2 on a car or whatever. And then you factor into that the price of the profit on just the car. They're also going to lose because it's their time. It's a box to ship it in. It's the shipping itself. There's a whole load of issues where I don't know how a lot of these dealers are going to survive. And frankly, a lot of them shouldn't, because they're selling this stuff for way too low. Frankly, some of these prices are just way lower than they should be, on some of the older stuff. Not the newer stuff. But it's just like, don't you want to make any money, guys? I don't really. Well, and I see I've lost another couple people. Well, cheers. Um, yeah, it's tough. And, I know we only want to talk about the fun new car stuff, which is fair. You know, a lot of people, that's all they want to talk about. And a lot of people, that's all they know about, quite frankly. Most of the folks that talk about this kind of thing have never done the slot car business in any substantive way. Um, but anyway, doesn't really matter. Um, so some of the things, I definitely think there's a lot of scale auto stuff that's coming that I really think is pretty incredible. The 124 scale, Grand Prix cars, the pre-war stuff. They're just kind of showing that stuff. I got some photos recently where they kind of show the projected scheduled stuff is what they call it for the end of the year, and good looking stuff. Uh, I really think Scale Auto has got a lot of good stuff going on. They have a they have a set they're finally going to release. Um, I don't think it'll have cars though, but I them between them and Polycar, they really have, as far as I'm concerned, the set market dominated. I know that you want to do Carrera Digital stuff, which is far and away the best system and the best selling system here in the U.S. It isn't even. It's not even remotely close, guys. Uh, if you're doing digital, Carrera Digital is the way to go. Just the availability of stuff here, the parts and the chips, I should say, the digital track pieces, definitely more available than any other option, quite frankly. Um, so yeah, you guys have any questions for me? I know people usually just ask as we're rolling along, but yeah, I think there might be a couple questions floating around out there. Um, what have I seen? What else have I seen? I didn't really see a lot of discussion about the MR slot car Corvettes that were released, the C1s that were released. Uh, it feels like people, talked about them a little bit when they first arrived, and then maybe didn't really talk about them after that. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I don't really have a good sense of that. I mean, it's definitely a kind of a one-off so far. One-off. Hey, filthy slots, great name. Definitely kind of a one-off car for the moment. They're planning on releasing a whole bunch of other cars, which is cool. Um, but just there's been a lot of cars that I feel like kind of go kind of get delivered and then or shipped to people, I should say, and then a lot of folks just kind of feels like stop talking about them. Unfortunately, um, definitely. I mean, the NSR stuff that shows up, it feels like people talk about more. The slotted stuff that shows up, people talk about, continue to talk about. Um, any news on the Carrera arrivals? I do need to talk to them about that. As far as I know, I mean, I did just email them probably about I don't know 2 weeks ago maybe, and there was nothing new, unfortunately, that they're bringing in. It's the uncertainty really about where the prices are going to land, because as I said before, JCB, um, the cost that gets figured in is is based on when the cars get on the water. So, like tomorrow, if we hear some tariff news and the tariffs stay at 100 and some percent, which is where they are now, 143% of some nonsense like that, some like astronomical number. Um, that's what they'd have to pay. But then they, 2 or 3 days from now, uh, there's some announcement made about a deal maybe, and then the price goes down. So when I had talked to Carrera, they were just kind of holding things in China, in Hong Kong, to kind of make sure, where things were going to land. Iron Dame's new Lambo, yeah, absolutely. Uh, Hope you're healing soon. So my pain is from surgery I had 2 years ago, a little more. Now I have nerve pain from when they removed a gland from my chest, um, and it's just gotten bad. Uh, Recently, I hurt myself carrying my camera bag, so it's not from a recent surgery. It's just kind of ongoing stabbing pain in my side, and it just got a little worse. I appreciate the thoughts, though. It really does mean quite a bit. Um, Life asks, any news on the Scale Auto 499 red Italian car? Do you think it will arrive this year? I haven't. That was probably, hold on a second. Let me take a drink here. It was probably shown, maybe a drawing was shown in the news I got from Scale Auto a couple of weeks ago, like maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't I don't think it was in. I don't know that it was in there, so I don't necessarily. I kind of doubt that's coming this year. I could be, wildly wrong. This is just, you know, me with awful memory. Uh, you can see from my latest video, I got a couple things wrong about the Corvettes. Sorry, it's my memory these days is pretty bad. um, yeah, you just never, you never know. It could be some things arrive sooner than others, and folks just don't talk about them until they get here. So, McRae, what about collaborations between manufacturers? Wouldn't ever happen. Um, Carrera and NSR. I'd rather buy more NSR or Scale Auto if digital and lights were already built in. Yeah, but I understand why you'd say that. Carrera has no interest in doing. I mean, when I talked to people last, um, and certainly when I worked there, and knowing the people that are running the company, they're the same people basically. They make toys. They're not making high end NSR, Scale Auto, slotted kinds of cars. They're just not. I know this is brought up quite a bit, and it's just it's something that is a fair question to ask, but it's just never going to happen. It just isn't. Now, Cuthbert asks, the Josephs ask, any thoughts about selling fly Scale Auto chassis without the fly bodies? I mean, aren't they just kind of a generic Scale Auto chassis? I would think that they would sell the chassis. Yes. I don't actually know. It may be in the ton. Hey, okay, Slot Car Racing, thanks for showing up. Slot Car Testing, appreciate you showing up. Um, I don't really think, or I would assume, I should say, that we would get uh, the chassis sold. I doubt we would get the bodies sold. And then you may be thinking, well, why would Scale Auto and Fly collaborate? Well, they're both Spanish companies, and Fly have all these models, all these bodies that could be just sitting there, that they need to market somehow. That let's be honest, Fly aren't exactly selling off the shelves anymore. There are a lot of cars that get to where Fly had been with the quality of the detail on bodies. Holy cow, we got a whole bunch of hummingbirds, and I gotta put more hummingbird water in the feeder. Yes, I hear you chirping over there. Very cool. We're big into birds here at my house. Sorry. Um, I get distracted easy. There's a squirrel around here somewhere, by the way. Um, so I think that's why they had the collaboration between Fly and Scale Auto. Uh, you know, Scale Auto is DS. They are the folks at IBB. They're Crick Crack. They're the biggest slot car store in the world, I believe. It's the Bassus family. They do tons and tons of business in Spain. They're just, it's hard to overstate their effect on the Spanish market. Hey, Rob. Yeah, no. This was kind of an impromptu uh, stream, sponsored not in, well, not really, but Slot Car Misfits board on Facebook. Yeah, Tom sent me a nice sticker, which I really appreciate, Tom. Cheers, thanks very much. Um, yeah, so anyway, talking slot cars, yes, I know. Uh, you want the Iron Dames Lambo Dojo says, yeah, the Iron Dames stuff. I've been following them on Instagram, or not Instagram. Well, yeah, a little bit, but mostly on Facebook. They do tons and tons of posts, and it's cool to see them have some success and certainly get more attention on social media because why not? It's great to see different ways of racing. At the very least, yes, it is an all-female team, which that's great, but also, I really want. I really do want them to succeed. The original Adam Hurtle, the original Adam Hurt. Sorry, I know you frequent Brian Streams, ProTinkerToys.com. Brian is always streaming. God love him. He's a good guy, and despite the differences we have, I love him. He's awesome. And Brian or Adam says. Nothing better than you and Brian back in the day at SCX. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to work with him. And, we were really doing all kinds of crazy stuff uh, because our boss would just let us go. And he would only rein us back in if we were spending money on not getting some kind of result for it, which usually we did. So, yeah. Yeah, Brian is a great guy. Hey, SPB, cheers. Steve Slots, awesome. Good to see you. Um, yeah, Brian's a great guy, and it was a lot of fun to work with him, and it was just so much, uh, so enjoyable to really, break some ground here in the U.S. with the stuff we did, the marketing that we did here for SCX, and then, frankly, the stuff that I went on to start with with Carrera. Um, yeah, it's rare that you get to break ground. Jim McLaughlin says used slot car prices seem to be great right now. Older Fly, Nenko, etc. Absolutely. There's always people getting in and out of the hobby. That's just the kind of hobby we have, and it makes for some great opportunities. If there's some cars that you missed, like I did, when I was newer, getting back into the hobby in the early 2000s. I didn't have a lot of money at that point, or not that I have it now. Extra money, I should say. That's what I mean to say. The extra money to buy Nenko cars specifically. There was a lot of Nenkos I really wish I would have now that you know you rarely see come up for sale. Um, but from time to time you do, and there's a lot of cars that were bought in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, when the stock car market was really high, and people were buying. I remember talking to dealers, and this was like, you guys don't understand the way people would buy in the early or in the mid 2000s to until around 2012, uh, dealers, and I've talked to the biggest dealers, and they all say, "Yeah, we used to buy, over 100 of each car," which is insane. And now, some dealers, they're lucky if they're buying a dozen of each car. Uh, certainly with the prices on some of your toy brands, um, have gone through the roof. You know, People are reconsidering whether they buy those brands at all. I mean, dealers now. Well, hobbyists too. Let's be fair. So, yeah, it's the used stuff. The prices are good on it, and certainly we have a lot of good choices for track now. So it is a just as good a time to be in the hobby as it always has been. Still, probably one of the best times because we have an awful lot available to us, even if some of the prices for the stuff on the new stuff is more expensive. Um, it is definitely a great time to have some very specific interests like Japanese cars. I mean, still Porsches, obviously. If you're a Corvette collector, holy crap, there's every kind of Corvette you could ever want, basically, um, that have been available, that are available. Certainly in the older stuff. I saw a Callaway the other day for sale used on one of the boards, and a Ninco Callaway Corvette, um, which is a rare beast even then, and frankly didn't sell very well. But now, I mean, it's one of one. These things are just completely unavailable now. So I think it's really awesome that we still have. Uh, we have a tremendous amount of variety. We have an absolutely tremendous amount of variety. I don't think that's going to go away regardless of the prices. Whether some stuff sells very well here doesn't necessarily affect whether it will be available here. People will still, Dealers will still bring um, stuff into the market. McCrae says it's ironic that there are no EV slot cars. No, it's not. And I'll tell you why. I have, from personal experience, tried to get Tesla's attention. I was sent to, well, I'll back up a little bit. I worked for Carrera up until 2017. I was I was told by the owner of Carrera at that time that we wanted to make electric cars. We wanted to make Teslas, basically, because we were an electric car company making slot cars. Why not sell an electric real car, which at that time was basically only a Tesla? So I reached out to Tesla's marketing, to their it was just basically a media email. They had no real uh, marketing or licensing or even legal department listed on their website. I called their at that time Southern California headquarters. Uh, I think about a dozen times. I mean, your boss tells you, the owner of the company tells you, we need to do this. I did it. I tried. Uh, and then the Detroit Auto Show came up, and it was 2016 maybe, and I went to the Detroit Auto Show from here in Pennsylvania for the specific reason of trying to make contact with Tesla. I knew that they would have, obviously, they have a booth there. It was a pretty small booth with lots and lots of very inexperienced, uh, uninformed, uh, odd young people working for them. and I gave probably 10 of them my business card and said, and even those like the top product manager that was there or marketing person that was there, I said, look, we want to make, we want to license a Tesla slot car. We want to make a Tesla slot car. Essentially, we want to give you money, which is not how you start a negotiation. If anyone knows how you start a negotiation, that is not how you do it by saying, we want to give you money. Um, but that is what I was told to do, basically, to get someone's fucking attention. It was, they were like completely baffled that I was trying to get some kind of person from the business side of things to respond to us. Basically, nobody ever did. Um, that's the longer story. We never heard from Tesla. You know, I was a North American marketing manager. At least as a title, it sounds impressive, right? Look, it was just a title, but that was my title for the company. Someone comes to a trade show and says we want to give you money, get in touch with us. You better give somebody in that department contact with somebody so they can take your money. No one ever did. Rob Sale asks, any make of GT40 in the UK commands a premium price. Even 25-year-old cars are selling for upwards of £50. Great. It's interesting to know that GT40s in theory, as a US, as a very specifically US car. I know. They started off as a UK developed car, but they didn't actually work until Shelby got a hold of them. So, yeah. That's interesting to know, though. That, because everybody still makes a lot of GT40s, that's for sure. Okay, slot car testing asks, aren't there Formula E slot cars? Yes, Carrera has made them. Um, they were pretty and Skeletric as well. They made both of them made very nice models of Formula E cars, and they didn't sell very well. People thought because they were they were an open wheel car that they were Indy cars. That's kind of the problem with selling any kind of open wheel car. I'm going to move my computer here. Sorry. Um, any kind of open wheel car here in the U.S. that you sell is thought of as Indy cars. And then for some reason, they don't buy them, even though they recognize them incorrectly. Okay, so Kathy Presnell asks about the Bruce Lee car. So that I believe is coming. I know is coming in December of this year. It is the Carrera limited edition, special edition, whatever you want to call it, for this year. It is coming in 132 and 124. I pretty much showed that first, I believe. Other folks have it now because, they get the news. Other people share it, whatever. But it has been confirmed. It is for this year, and we don't know the pricing. I assume it ain't going to be cheap. And yet, a lot of dealers dealers here in the U.S. they're all allocated. So dealers here in the U.S. only get a very small percentage of what they actually could sell. But, Carrera do try to keep a fairly limited run. Limited run ideas about limited run are definitely whose whose word do you want to take on what a limited release of slot cars is? Because the average limited run of slot or special edition release, the limited number claimed is about 2,000, which is about what the regular run of slot cars are. So, Rob Sale asked, and I think I'm not going to want to answer this. If you could have any car made as a slot car, who would you believe Yes, Kathy. Yes, both scales. Yes. Um, uh, any car. What I'd like to see is done as a slot car. Um, I don't really like to talk about that, and it sounds bad every time I say it, but people have taken a lot of my ideas and have made a ton of money on them uh, over the years. And yeah, if people want me to consult for them, they only need to contact me. I it's I know it sounds odd to say, but that's the way it is. More Japanese cars. Let's just say that. Let's just say that. Hope you're doing better. Thank you very much, Kathy. My pain is in my chest or in my side, and it's chronic because of some nerve damage and nerve damage when I had a surgery a few years ago, chest surgery a few years ago. So, unfortunately, the doctor has told me that I'm just going to have to live with this the rest of my life, which it goes and comes. I have pain most every day, but sometimes it only gets bad enough. Sometimes, yesterday I was a little worried because it was pretty extreme, and whenever people hear about, I'm 55. Whenever people say, "Oh well, you're 55, you're kind of overweight or overweight," um, is this a heart attack? I went to the doctor. That's why I posted that. Um, anyway, it's a chronic thing that unfortunately affected me a little more yesterday than it normally does. So here's some more chronic disease, shall we? Uh, yeah, they usually do product run. I've talked a lot about the numbers of cars that get released when companies do a run of cars. Uh, each livery of a car is generally only done once, unless it's part of a slot car set. So like these cars, I believe this car, the Fast and Furious um, Celica Supra, who's my car guy card there. The Supra is part of their new set. So this car is done as a set car and as what they call an open stock car, which means a car that's sold outside of a set. That's what it means. It's just a solo car, just a car. Yeah, so this car, because they generally run, when you do a set, generally speaking, well, there's a couple variables. Usually a set is about 5,000 pieces. So this car will have been run for the set as well as for the crystal case sales, the single car sales like you see here. So uh, there would be probably at least 6 or 7 thousand of these cars that were made just this livery. Now, if they keep this set that this car is in the catalog for another year, that car would be made again. But generally speaking, cars are only made once. And generally speaking, the production run on cars is somewhere, you know, maybe it's 3,000 cars now uh, of a specific livery, not of a mold. Let's say that there's, this mold that's done or this livery that's done, and then next year they do a blue one. And then 2 years from now they do a pink one, whatever the situation is. Um, they try to get as much money out of that mold, get the money back for the cost of the mold, which might cost just the mold cost might be about $60,000. So, sorry, brother, I don't speak Japanese. Feel free to translate it and put it in. I'm sorry, I don't speak Japanese or read Japanese, because I believe that's what we have there. Uh, But yeah, so when you're talking about limited release cars, special edition cars, I found it really amusing when I worked for the companies that, you know, the numbers that we would talk about of a limited release car were essentially identical to the normal release car. But because you called it limited release or special edition, it's the same damn thing. Um, you'd have people falling all over themselves to buy what is essentially just another car with special markings on the box or the case. So, you know, a little bit of marketing, guys. So anyway, yeah, that's the product numbers talk, which I usually do talk about every year or so. I haven't really done that in the last probably 2 years or so, maybe, but it's the same. This stuff doesn't really change. Super is wonderful, even more so. Cox's Gunny Ford is wonderful. Okay, I I'm sorry, I don't really know the reference there. I probably should, but I'm glad something's making you happy. Slockyard testing. Cheers, brother. um, Secret Weber, Dave, what are the chances of the Brabham BT46B fan car F1 being available as a single? It was released in a box set with the awful Lotus 99 and now with the GM 50. Oh, and okay. So it's in a scale electric set now. Um, you have the set. Okay. Uh, if it's been released, okay. If there's the car is only available in one livery or one number, I should say. The chance of it being, if there's only one number of the car, and I'll be honest, I don't know. I don't know the exact car you're talking about. Um, if there's only one number on the car, uh, zero. Skelectric have a habit of never releasing a car that was a special edition car under different circumstances. So if it was in a special edition release, they wouldn't probably release it outside of that. Now, if there's a different number or markings on the car, in some ways, it's possible, but they do tend to be. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's. You see, I don't know. I can't speak for somebody. It's not anything I help decide anymore. It was when I worked for companies. Um, it'd be a great question to ask on the Skelectric board, or email Skelectric, or if someone from Skelectric is watching now, which I kind of doubt because it's late at night, or will want to answer in the comments. I do know that they watch my stuff from time to time, so you never know. Um, yeah, you never know. Sorry. Uh, that's probably it, guys. See, I think I got some notes. No, just I've been getting a lot of Instagram posts. Whoop, I bumped the computer there on my table. Was getting a lot of Instagram messages today from folks. Um, so I just figured I'd go live and just chat. Yeah, a little bored today, and it's like I said, it was such a beautiful, and it is such a beautiful day. It is almost chilly here. You hesitate to say those words because it gets into the lower 70s, which it is probably 70 now, and extremely low humidity, which for Pennsylvania in the summer is, geez, it's rare. Uh, we've had some awful weather recently, and I've been out at baseball games, and oh boy, it's been sweaty. So um, I do appreciate people uh, hanging around and are waiting, I should say, for the news. I'm sorry it had to wait until today. I was just feeling just too beat up yesterday. And, unfortunately, it kind of got in the way of me feeling like I wanted to do anything. Please, if I could ask folks to, it's not slot car related, but it is my other YouTube channel where I talk about photography. I'm a full-time photographer. That's my real job. Um, and ask people just to subscribe, even if they're not into photography. I'd like to get some more numbers on there, so I'd really appreciate it if folks could check out the channel, or just like I said, just give me a sub on there. It's free to subscribe. You don't have to pay anything. I would really appreciate it. Yeah, so I know the folks are out. There's my cursor. I know the folks are out on the West Coast at the slotted championships this weekend. Good luck to them. Hopefully they have a good race and everybody has a lot of fun. And check out the live streams. I think one might have been happening. I'm not sure. I got the notification when I was setting up to go live that I think Electric was doing a live stream. And go on over there, check those guys out, and see if they're still live, and enjoy, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks again for everybody stopping by. It really does mean quite a bit.